All right, May 21st, 2021.
All right, kids.
Stand up. Let's do the inverse order. So, because I always feel bad that folks that either come later or don't have video get thrown back. So I'm gonna reorder us here. Which means Lily, you are up.
Cinnamon and it's vanilla.
Although maybe, oh,
I thought I was hearing some echo or something, like two voices.
Plus there is none.
oh, you might have. I don't know. There are people talking behind me in the kitchen.
Oh, okay. Actually, I don't have much to say. Just keep working on the back-end issues.
That's fine. That's fine. All right then. Well, maybe we'll be really quick with our stand-up today.
Maybe
Quentin.
actually you don't like.
Same boat as Lily, I think. Yeah, just trying to work through. Actually, one thing I'm realizing is the 209A was another project that got kind of put on hold for the sprint. So that's something else I'll have to pick back up on. But yep, just working through our backlog for this current sprint.
All right,
I
cool.
think we might end up missing some of the issues. I don't see them happening today, and I think I can work on them.
We are getting close to. We'll have that new corridor, folks, in June. They can use the new Weaver. It'll be exciting. All right, Bryce.
Not too much. Working on Tyler's stuff. We had a relatively good call yesterday with Tyler that sort of just laid out that their certification process is a bit more flexible than it looks on paper. And that's good news. And so I am close-ish. I still need to like try and I can handle filings that are already filed relatively easy, and I just need to make sure I have like all the setup, but I need to just actually write a bunch of tests and try to file from our like APIs. But other than that, we're like relatively close, and I'm going to start trying to like do really, really rough integration with DocAssembly interviews and like and so like the DocAssembly interviews can just call into this proxy server. Or not really like call into, but sort of like we'll have like administrator interviews, and then like the bare bones will send this payload to the server, and it will try to file. And while I'll sort of just have to sketch out how that works and design as I go, because it's sort of difficult to map on like all of the different things that they let us do. Still need to sort of like completely nail down like what we're going to let people writing interviews do. And how they're going to use it. So
Cool. Could you are you at the point where you're ready to share the Trello board on it yet? Because I didn't click on the invite you sent me until today, and it was it expired. So
yeah, no, sorry, I had meant to copy that link into channels, but I hadn't. I'll do that now.
Cool.
Sorry.
And then, this is something to think about, is if we're getting close to that stage, then we might want to start thinking about how we want to handle things with the Louisiana. With Jefferson Parish.
Yes, I was gonna say I actually have like the filled in filing that I like did manually. I was thinking I might as well just try and like strip this down and show what we need, since that is the bare bones. So I was probably I wanted to do that I don't know. It's probably better to do it Monday, just so I don't catch people over the weekend. But I wanted to at least do it today or Monday. So.
Yeah, and then I guess and I haven't. Forgive me for not having been part of the deep dive discussions, but what's the thinking? Regarding that and the sort of like the side server we've set up for handling that, like are we, has a decision been made about how to engineer that such that, I think it's going to go through a common interface and then get written out to the mapping for the Jefferson Parish thing? I guess I'm trying to think, like, is it really a parallel thing to the Tyler, or is there some shared bit of engineering?
There is going to be shared bit of engineering, essentially, like just for practicality, all of the like Tyler, so like Tyler XML, like ECF like structures that they have are just not really usable. They're like, it's like, imagine the worst like Java stereotypes about on how like the lines, like every single line is over like 200 characters. The generated code will do that really like a lot. And so it's just sort of like really difficult to read, and to make it easier that where I'm going to have like intermediate structures for like pretty much like people, addresses, and most of the common things, maybe not a lot of the very specific codes, but a lot of the common stuff we're going to have like just internal structures on how we handle things. And it's really easy to just like add another output that spits out the simple Jefferson Parish version. And I don't know like how scalable we need to be in terms of like, we need to support XYZ right now. And so I'm not really like, I could probably come up with a better like software design for like adding arbitrary ones. But for right now, I feel like if we can keep them below like counting the number of outputs we have on one hand, that would be fine.
Yeah, my impression is that they're very flexible at Jefferson Parish, but I think that, we want to shoot for a similar coverage to the Tyler. So, a form wrapped in some metadata is probably sufficient.
Yeah.
Similar, but like pretty minimal also was the impression I got, right? When we talk with Jefferson Parish.
Yes, when we'll have all of the things
they're not going to use probably, right?
Unless we're already capturing it, we want to just send it over as an additional and here's a snapshot of our structured data sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're capturing we're capturing most of the stuff. So I'll keep it simple and send it over, and we won't have to send over payment information. And I will, instead of essentially Tyler makes you translate between defender, petitioner, defendant, plaintiff codes for each particular case that there exists, and then the case, and those are all numbers, and I'm just gonna send over honestly the text we have from the DocAssembly interviews of what we're setting those as. So we just want to do that mapping either.
And if you want to think of a proof of concept form, there's the form that Amanda's put together as
yes, and
that would be the one we'd actually be filing.
I have to take a call really quick. Someone else should go.
Go ahead. All right, cool. Michelle.
Right. So I forgot what I was going to say. Just a couple minutes ago, I realized that, and I've been racking my brain to make that work. Issues and such, trying to figure out the videos on YouTube.
I did notice there were some things were showing up. When I looked, duplicates were showing up on the playlist. So I'll just flag that as a.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of videos I can't find, and I assume y'all have them somewhere, but I'm not sure if they're on YouTube somewhere that I can't find or.
Well, there's a giant gap between.
Okay.
Here's my calendar of video gaps. And I
Okay.
think there's a gap. Basically last summer is there's a gap. August. Yeah, there's a big gap last summer basically.
Also after January this year.
Yeah, and then so what there should be is something from that's interesting about the January from this year. It's actually that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a 8th, 12th, 15th. Yeah. So we didn't get good about this until quite recently. We were very good in the beginning, and we were very good recently. But then there's a big area that's spotty.
Okay. So I was hoping I was interested in a particular video in that series that was
If you know a date.
I asked if anybody could remember at least a month, but I looked through back through April as far back as I could, and I think those are too recent. It was when we did a Teaching Tuesday where we were converting a file over from MAVC to AL, and the idea was I can look at the diff, so there are other ways I can track that information, but it loses some nuance that I may not be able to remember.
It could be a meeting I recorded because I have not been good about uploading them either. So if you know what day it was or have a guess for what days you're missing that it definitely isn't, I can look.
I think it was in March.
All right.
It's not super helpful, but I'm not. I were
I
at a
just
bad
pull the
date.
calendar and see which days are Tuesdays, and then I think that probably would be helpful. It's only like 4
Yeah,
days.
so I don't have anything. If it was from March this year, I don't have anything from that on my local, which means that they're either that they should be up on YouTube or they weren't ones I recorded.
Yeah, they're not on YouTube that I could find. So.
Or actually, oh, I'm sorry, wait, I was looking in the wrong place. No, I do have March. Sorry, I was looking in the wrong place.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have all of March here. If you knew what date it was, that would be.
One moment.
Okay, I don't have any recordings or meetings in March.
A thing to do would be to find what March were Tuesdays. So I can look into maybe prioritizing throwing up some. I was trying to do them all in order, but maybe I should just throw up teaching Tuesdays first or something.
I do have April 5th.
I think April 4th.
You have that one already.
Something, and I think that's there.
All right. Well, yeah, it's probably not. Yeah, this is definitely a place where we need some more.
Okay.
And
if we can throw some of them up there, I might have some time before the summer to organize some of them. There was another thing. There's, I don't know, in testing, there's stuff that I kind of like, questions that I really feel like if I could just plumb Jonathan's knowledge on it, but I'm not sure, like I've been able to articulate to him the reasons that I am, that we're not pursuing the testing through the API, that we're instead pursuing end-to-end testing. And I think that's like that he does not yet see the kind of value of that yet. And so our discussions about it have not been super productive.
That's interesting because I mean, his testing stuff is all about using Cucumber.
I know, right? That's what I thought too. Okay. But I don't know. Maybe since then, I don't know what's going on there, but
all right.
So that's just been a bit of a struggle, and I don't know. I think like
2 years ago, like I was trying to push him to put like show if information in the JSON so you could use it with an API test. At least you would know like what it's supposed to do. You couldn't guarantee it worked the same way it's supposed to, but and he didn't have any interest in doing that. But okay.
Yeah. Maybe maybe he views testing differently, or I don't know. Well, that's interesting. But so I'm just trying to figure out how to because there's a bunch of these things that like I can dig through documentation, I can dig through the code, or I could possibly just ask him. But like since the discussions haven't been productive, I've kind of fallen off of that avenue. But there are times where it's really just a slog to dig and try and find what I'm looking for. But there's nothing in particular right now. I guess I can just go with what I've got. But it is a bit of a slowdown. Yeah, I think that's where my current obstacles are, and other than that, just getting on.
Well, cool. So our next week we will have Aubrey on these meetings. She'll be with us ahead of the student cohort, the rest of the student cohort that will start in June. So the thing that I want to flag for people is now the theoretical question of what do we want people to work on during onboarding has become a more concrete question. So if there are collections of files that need to be brought across the line, that's good for our people who have had previous experience, but we're looking for anything that would be a good entrance for folks who don't have any previous experience. So any simple forms or parts of larger packets that people think would be useful. And we may get a couple of those from the appeals court, but I'm not 100% sure, just given their time constraints, whether that will come in next week. I will know by Wednesday. But
what do you think about a project to have people figure out filing addresses for different courts?
Oh, as opposed to just the physical address?
Because we have a lot of sessions where, like, you know, it's open for 2 hours on one day a week to hear a certain kind of case, but you can't file stuff there. We had kind of carved this out as a potential Code for America project, and no one was interested in doing it then, but that might be a good project for someone starting their first week.
Yeah, I guess the question is what we want to, if we want to that first week to, so I definitely like it as a student project. The question is whether or not our onboarding, if we want to make sure that everyone sort of has a similar experience of doing like a form automation or something, so they understand the pipeline. I definitely like that as a project. I think that's a wonderful project and exactly rightly shaped. But I don't want to. I want to avoid a situation where we unnecessarily making me say, oh, well, because you got this project the first week, now we're not going to be able to help you as well as we did with everyone else when you want to do this other thing.
Yeah, I think people probably need more than one thing to do their first week, so that
I think that's probably true.
Stuck, they need something to shift onto. But maybe that's plus doing the training stuff that we have already set up, reading through the boot camp, but especially doing the Hello World. And
yeah. My thinking was that what we'd actually do is we do have a number of returning folks. And so I've been talking with them, and I think what we could actually do is and one of the things I want Aubrey to definitely do as part of her role is to help us with documenting that role and things, just further improving the documentation we have. And so we'll probably come up with another iteration of things and add stuff. But my thinking was that first week we could have touch points every day. So that there's some FaceTime that can be gotten with people, and then we basically give them something like the boot camp assignments, but compressed into that 1 week, which is basically the Hello World. Not all of it, obviously, because it's something you don't need. But we could start with a Hello World, which I think any of us could do. We've all done it before. And then follow that with, okay, now let's take something and put it through the Weaver. And it could be, we could put a generic nothing through the Weaver, but if we have actual forms, I think it would be nice to.
It sounds like a good idea. I'm just a little worried about that we haven't done it yet, and that will take a lot of time to do something like the boot camp. That was a week at least of our time.
Yeah, so I mean, my expectation is that we'll have, well, at least for myself, I'll be expecting to do, what I want to do is do, an hour or so for those 4 days in that first week, every day, and then shift after that down to our sort of normal twice a week touch points, so that it's effectively sort of the schedule we've been keeping normally. So the idea is for that 1 week to be sort of more intensive. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it could be sort of self-guided, as you were saying, sort of read through the boot camp materials, but I want to supplement that with the people who have done prior stuff. So, so like Joelle and Aubrey and Laney, and we have a couple of people who are all coming back, but I think would be good resources to help people work through those materials.
Do you think we could do watch parties on Zoom where we put like watch parties and study groups where we put the video on while everybody's on, and they can be paused and discussed or whatever, or
it's not a bad idea.
Talk to each other as they're going through it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I like that. What I want to do is
just as an additional. I understand that's not instead of.
Yeah, my hope is so what I want to do is next week I'm going to work very closely with Aubrey to see what she thinks would be good, pulling upon her recent experience having gone through it herself as a student, and see what we can sort of borrow from the documentation we have where it is and what other things we need to add in. So yeah, so I'm really expecting that next week to have more of to be the time when we really sort of lock things down. And I'm going to try to give Aubrey a lot of control and support from myself as to how to make that best happen. But the idea is basically, the way I'm looking at it is the onboarding week is an opportunity for people to get comfortable enough with our systems and each other to then be able to ask questions appropriately and engage as we expect people to within the community. So I don't expect they have to have a certain like deliverable done by the end of the week, but I want them to be comfortable enough that then they can work more independently. That's the main goal, is to get them to the point where they could work independently. Well, independent-ish, right?
And did the forms part of that get answered? The part where there are a set of forms that are ready for
that was my original question starting this conversation, was people had forms they wanted to. And we can just do for all of the boot camp materials, we could just do a generic form. We could do the example form that we had in the boot camp. Just have everyone do that. And I think that will be our default. But if people have things that they think would be well suited, it's always nice to actually have the training actually move things forward.
It might be a good placeholder. I'm just trying to think, like, do we want to start a bunch of new forms?
We might not.
Now?
So maybe the thing to do is to do the example as a way to get everyone familiar with the workflow. And then instead of pairing all of the people with prior experience together to move things over the line, we pair a new person and a prior experienced person together to move things over the line.
People could also, if you picked like 2 forms for the group, multiple people could do one form and compare their results afterwards. If that would feel more useful.
I guess another thing people could do is like, yeah, we're trying to do things like create cover pages. I'm just like trying to be thinking about like what the last semester, what seemed to work for students and what didn't, and more wins might be good for people. So like that, like skills that they already have and feel confident in.
Well, we had enough other, so my main concern is not creating different groups that sort of get different attentions, right? So like if we had enough projects like if we had like cover pages we wanted to do, and we had like the court filings, and we had like, if we had a universe of those that we could then farm out, then those all feel similar enough to each other that that feels good. I just don't want it to be like, oh, well, these 2 people are working, this cohort is working on stuff that's actually projects, and then this cohort's working on it. At least not at the very beginning, right?
Yeah. Well, if it's like everyone should learn how to do the basics of DocAssembly their first week, right? Like that feels like that's easy to say, but I think they'll be frustrated if that's all they do the first week. They will want things they can say like, I know what I'm doing by the end of the week. Whereas if they're just doing whatever program, it'll be harder. So,
I like that.
Yeah, but they could write a cover page. They could do some of the stuff with the JSON. It's adding a JSON file, so actually that will feel fairly technical to some people. They might need some time to get comfortable with it. But the first part of the work is looking at the database, identifying where do you file for this court. Which we might only know for the housing courts, but there's some other courts where we'll have to like do some detective work, and students may not know how to do
others fine.
Yeah.
Okay, well then one of the things I will have us do, it's Friday, that and I'm going to have a meeting with Aubrey first thing on Monday. So one of the things I was going to do is we were going to start putting some spreadsheets together in the admin channel so we could track all of the people who were involved with the summer cohort. I already have one in there that's sort of a draft, but we'll take that and then we can flesh that out, and then we can add a tab for projects, and we can start thinking about what those look like too. And then if we can flesh those out, I mean, a week I think is a reasonable time for us to be able to flesh them out. We've already got like 3 ideas here now. And then we can figure out exactly what that looks like. So
one more idea is like testing. So like, for example,
Yeah.
there were some forms that Michael Cronin had that were like really close that I feel like we should be ready to put out, but there were some things we learned in the testing that need to be done. But I couldn't remember if they actually were all tested either. Like, I don't know if we have a whole suite of things that need to get tested, but that could be a thing, a regular thing people do every week to do peer feedback and testing.
yeah, then that might be a really good, not to where you're going with this, but the idea of having a set of tasks that vary over the week that you always do the same things. So, okay, now I'm going to do some testing this week. That way you keep it, keep the tasks varied, and there's something that becomes familiar, and you can be comfortable in that familiarity, and also you move things forward by continually revisiting.
And one more thing I wanted to not forget to mention is we might reach out to some of the folks who volunteered in the past before. So John McConkey just reached out to me. So he was a big part of our volunteer cohort last summer, and he was like, I could be free again. We might want to formally reach out to more people, but I think at least him. And I think where his skills were best and where he was most interested was doing like the copy editing kind of work, which is what made me think of testing. So if we had like a way to get some stuff queued up for that kind of work, it might help students, but also with our older volunteers that we had from last year.
Yeah.
Older men, they previously volunteered, not their age, just to be clear.
Yeah. More of a veteran. And one of the things I'm really looking at with Aubrey's position is for her to help with this coordination of these things, and for us documenting that as we go forward. So yeah, I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm really starting to fade right now. I think
fair.
I
forgot you shouldn't be here, right? But I'm glad you are.
I'm really tired right now. But yeah, okay. So so I think the next time we'll probably all meet together again on this, or a subset of us will meet together is on the Management or Tactical Tuesday. And at that point, I think Aubrey and I will have a plan of next steps that then everyone can give their feedback and inform, and then we'll get those things ready in anticipation of the following week, having people come out on Tuesday after the holiday.
And I think it might be reasonable to reach out to Ed Cook and see where he's at in life, and see if he, since you talk, since we're bringing up manual testing, if he wants to be part of forming that workflow with the students, right?
Yeah, I feel like we tried different ways. That's a great idea, because he'll have that experience, other different ways to do QA.
Yeah,
we tried like really heavy, we tried really light. I feel like the biggest thing is like getting people to step up and say, I'll do it. So I think like just that pipeline might be what we need. It's like, all right,
testing Tuesday
this time, and you were assigned this form to test.
That's right. Testing Tuesdays.
Testing Tuesdays. I like it.
Sounding like everything Tuesdays at this
I know
point.
Tuesday's the easiest one
Maybe
to throw things onto. Refactoring Wednesdays. Refactoring Thursdays, because there's an R, and I remember one of my schools used to distinguish between Tuesdays and Thursdays. R would be.
That's right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was like,
the one
it's
letter.
Like, David, you're tireder than you think you are.
That was how they saved space in the course register.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Okay, so I will take these ideas, discuss them with Aubrey on Monday. We'll all touch base again on Tactical Tuesday, and then that will give us all something to do, and mostly Aubrey and myself, something to do in anticipation of the next week. And then the hope is just that next week in June, that first week in June, that to the extent that people have availability, we'll try to do daily touches, probably at the same time as we normally do our touches. But there will be more people, and they will be in various places. But I'm very happy with the cohort we have. There is a mix of time commitments. So there will be some people who will be doing, smaller amounts of time, and some people will be doing more time. But we do have at least 3 people who are effectively full-time, either through pay or credit, or at least not full-time, but more like somewhere like 20 hours plus. So part-time, I guess.
That's good though.
But and so we can differentiate tasks between people's commitments. I think that'll be helpful too.
Sure.
Oh, like a really tiny thing people could do is add names to all of the interviews, like who the author is.
Because that's now.
Because now we can do that on the about page.
And even maybe check in with the authors and be like,
Definitely check in.
make a list of like authors that are happy to have their names on things. Right, like that, so we can confirm, and then we'll have that list we'll know, for the future too.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are probably some other update kind of things, but that's like a really easy one. It's just like going in and editing the metadata tag.
Should probably also just do an audit of the outstanding forms. What is really out there.
Yeah, I had some students who did some like carrying stuff over the finish line work this semester. Those might be closer to being ready than they were before.
So we've got sort of names on interviews, court filing, info, audits and outstanding forms. There's another one that I know I'm missing. What was that? That you would suggest? Oh, testing, obviously.
Oh, just testing, yeah. And testing is the one that like actually I don't know if we're ready for that yet, because we probably need to build a pipeline of like, here are the things that need to be tested, but it'd be nice to have that be in the mix.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we could just have some people test some already done forms just so they're used to get an idea for testing.
That's true. But I would just say like what we don't want them to do is to provide a lot of UX feedback that we've already made decisions about.
Yeah.
So we'll have to give them some guidance about how to do it.
Oh yeah. There will be copious amounts of guidance will be required. All right, cool. That's all I got. Anything else? Anyone for a stand up? I thought we were going to end before casual time, but here we are already after 1.
Sorry. I guess we
That's
ended
okay.
up with management type stuff.
No, that's fine. It was something that needed to be happening. I was the one guilty of bringing it up both occasions. All right, I'll stop the